Welcome back to Central Valley Talk. Our show is Briggs on Books. We used to be a regional California author show, but after COVID and learning this new Zoom technology, we talk to authors all over the world and so many interesting authors. Now, our next guest has been on the show quite a few times, and she may be the most interesting author we have ever had on. Bonnie K.T. Dillabough. Welcome, Bonnie.
Thank you, Mike. I'm so glad to be back with you today.
Now, where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in Richland, Washington. That's east of the mountains, and enjoying just kind of being out in a rural area and enjoying the sunshine.
Now, can you see Mount St. Helens where you are?
No, but as we prepare to go over the pass to Olympia area, we do see Mount Rainier quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, that's picturesque. That's iconic.
Beautiful.
Let me ask you before we jump in. I know you're the author of the Digital Alliance series. What is that genre? What is that all about?
Okay, so the Dimensional Alliance series is a science fiction / fantasy / young adult. I guess you would also add to that. And it's where science meets fantasy. There are dragons and robots in my book. Matter of fact,
Oh, yeah, what is that?
This is Cornelium. He's actually one of the characters in my books. He's taking care of me today. He's a scientist in my book series, and we have a lot of other interesting creatures, both mythological from Earth and others that you would never even imagine.
Yeah, actually, it looks like it's keeping you quite warm.
He does keep me warm, don't you? He's a bit of a curmudgeon, this guy, but he's actually quite nice.
I know people that are really, really into fantasy. I know people that are really, really into science fiction, but you brought the two together.
Yes, well, one of my characters is fond of saying that magic is only science we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
And which is actually right out of Arthur C. Clarke, one of my favorite sci-fi writers. But there is no wand waving in these books, no classical magic, but there are fantastic creatures, and it has an aura of questing, like many fantasy books, like The Lord of the Rings do, and it is about conquering ultimate evil in the multiverse, which is also kind of a fantasy thing. You know, Star Wars. People are never quite sure whether that's fantasy or science fiction, and I think this kind of goes in that general direction. It's not quite a space opera per se, but it definitely goes out past our universe into various dimensions, and hopefully kind of like Anne McCaffrey's books were about dragons, but they were, and everybody thought they were fantasy, but they weren't. They were science fiction books.
Science fiction, yeah.
And this has that same kind of a feeling. So when I tried to categorize it, some people are saying it's fantasy, some people were saying it was science fiction. I just combined the two.
There you go. Now, who's reading these books? It's a young adult?
Oh, well, you know what's interesting is I have readers from age 13 to 83. I find that a lot of younger people really enjoy them. We have whole families who read these books together. They are family friendly. No unfortunate language or scenes. When I first started writing, I made a vow that I would never write a book that I couldn't read out loud in front of my grandchildren without embarrassment.
Very good.
So, but action, adventure, all kinds of things in here that totally qualify it for any age group, really, except I find that people who really like science fiction and really like fantasy seem to love these books.
Love these books, yeah. By the way, I love to read young adult books anyway, but it sounds like these could be for me, too.
Right. Well, if a book is well written, does it really matter?
No, it doesn't matter, yeah. Yeah. Well, I like young adult because it gets young adults reading. That's my favorite thing, to see young people just pick a book up and say, I like this, and then they look for another book by Bonnie Dillabough and another and another. That's what I like about it. By the way, I was trying to look up to see how many books you have. How many are there?
Okay, so at this point, as of today, this is my big launch of book 7 in the series. So there are now 7 books. It's a 9-book series in 3 trilogies.
By the way, I forgot to put the book up. Here it is, Threads of Infinity. And which book is this? Where does it come in the series?
That one is book 7.
Okay.
And it's 3 trilogies. The first trilogy is about Jenny, a young woman who inherits a house, a cat, and a key from an aunt she's only met twice in her life. Turns out the house has a room in it that couldn't possibly be there. The cat is not a cat. The key doesn't fit any of the locks in her house, but unlocks adventures in the multiverse and teaches her things about herself she never thought were possible. The second trilogy is actually Jenny reading her aunt's journals and finding out where it all came from and learning some things not only about her aunt, but about her future in the dimensional alliance and how she can be more effective in what she's doing. And then the third trilogy is Jenny and her companions working on defeating ultimate evil in the multiverse. So 2 trilogies complete. This one is the beginning of the 3rd trilogy, and I am having such a blast.
Yeah, I bet. I love books that go on in a series. You finish it. Oh, man, I wish there was more. And then Bonnie Dillabough comes out with another one. So these sound like...
the word infinity is in every title because I have an infinite number of stories to tell.
Infinite number of stories. Now, this all sounds like a movie. Any thoughts about anything like that?
Actually, I've had some approaches in that regard. So far, I don't think I'm ready for that yet.
Not ready, okay.
And the reason is as I review, lately I've been doing a lot of reviewing movies that were taken from books that I love.
Yeah.
And saying, they really didn't do these books justice.
Yes. I
so
find that too.
If I'm going to do this, I want to do it in a way where my readers aren't completely disappointed. I mean, quite frankly, Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson really did do an amazing job with it, but there were some real issues with those movies from the point of view of a huge fan of those books. The same with the Narnia movies, the same with Harry Potter, and definitely some of the TV series of some of my other favorite books were very, very disappointing. So perhaps a movie.
Moving from books to movies, you're going to lose something, and it's hard.
Yeah,
it's tough
always.
to do that. But I always read the book before I see the movie. That's my rule.
Yeah, that's me too.
Now, the ideas you have just blow my mind. Where does that come from? Do you sit and ponder and think about it, or are you just walking through your day and these things are popping in your head?
Okay, well, I think in the beginning there was a recurring dream that I'd had that sparked the book series. But over time, as I become more acquainted with these characters, they actually come and visit me in the middle of the night.
Yeah, nice.
They say, hey, why don't we do this? And I'm like, you couldn't have done that while I was sitting at the keyboard today?
Right.
No, of course not. But that being said, the dream initially was I was having a housewarming, and it was for me. And of course, you know how you are in a brand new house, right? You've looked in every nook and cranny. You know where everything is, right? Well, one of the guests comes up to me and says, Bonnie, do you have fill in the blanks? It was a little different in each dream, but it was something that they wanted. And I'd say, oh, sure, it's in the other room. I'll go get it. I go down the hallway and I notice a door that I'd never noticed before. I'm like, I didn't know there was a closet here. Open the door and it's not a closet. It's a room the size of Costco.
Oh my God.
And it's got airplanes in it, and it's got cars, and it's got toys, and it's got clothing and sculptures and all kinds of weird things. And I'm looking around and going, oh my goodness, what is this? And I walk, I got to go tell my friends. I run out of the room, go to my friends and say, guys, you got to come see this. We get there and the door's gone.
And it's in your house is the key part. I can
Right.
see how that would lead to these things, these ideas, the keys and the doors. Wow.
Yeah, and that I had that dream starting when I was 16 and kept having it year after year, kept asking people, what do you think this means?
Yeah.
I don't know, that's weird. That's a really weird dream, Bonnie. And it's like, so when I finally did decide, when I knew that I was going to be in a wheelchair permanently, I was at a loss of what to do with my life. And I'd done a lot of really weird and interesting things. But I'd always wanted to write a book since I was in high school, a novel. I'd written a lot, but not a novel. And so when I finally decided to write a novel, just before that, I had written the dream down because I was tired of it and I wanted to just have it stop. And I went to that note and went, you know what? This could be a really great story. And that's when I started thinking about it and came up with the Jenny character and the Lizzie character. The two main characters in my books are both female. The older lady who gave Jenny her inheritance in the first place, and Jenny herself. And of course, there had to be a cat in the book. That was inevitable. And there had to be dragons. But I also wanted robots. So, that's where it all kind of just came together for me. Nice. And here's the thing. Let me just say something about this. I published the first book in this series 2 weeks before my 64th birthday.
My goodness.
Okay, so here's the moral of that story. Never give up on your dream.
It's never too late.
That's it. Because you never know when that opportunity might finally arrive for you to fulfill something that you've wanted to do all your life. So we all have aspirations. We all have things that we want to do with our lives. And life happens. I went into the military. I met my husband. We had 6 kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I was a professional clown for a while. I did 15 years in broadcast television and so forth. And it's a long list. But here's the thing about that is I didn't plan any of those things. I had a plan, and the only thing that even came close to happening in my plan was the writing of the book, and that didn't happen until I was an old lady. Okay? So, you never know. You have seasons in your life, and you never know when you're going to get the opportunity to finally do something that's really important to you. So don't give up on it. Yeah. Just recognize that maybe now is just not the time yet. And keep going.
Well, Bonnie, if somebody comes to me with a crazy dream and asks me what I think it means, I'm going to say, well, I know Bonnie Dillabough, and I think it means you better write a book. Write it down. Start writing it down. You're very inspiring. I'm going to put the cover of this book up again and ask you a question. Can somebody start with this book, or do they need to go to the beginning?
No, they really need to go to the beginning.
Okay.
The first book in the series is called The House on Infinity Loop.
Okay. House on Infinity Loop, because every book has the word infinity in it. I get it.
Infinity, every book. And if you go to the website, which you've got that.
On the screen, yeah.
Okay. So if you go to the website, you'll see me talking about the books. And from there, you can figure out if you want ebooks, they're in ebook format. If you want physical books, they're in physical book format. If you would like a signed copy, you need to email me.
Yeah.
And I can make arrangements for that.
Very nice.
But this is really exciting to be here today on this advent of this 7th book. You should know I've already started on book 8.
Okay.
I'm several pages in, and I'm doing NaNoWriMo. Are you familiar with that?
No.
NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writers Month.
Oh, yes.
And every November they do a writer's challenge, and the challenge is against yourself to write 50,000 words in a month.
In a month. Oh, my goodness.
That is how the first book got started. Was I did the NaNoWriMo challenge soon after I had decided I was going to write a book. At the end of the challenge, I had half a book, and I'm going, well, I might as well finish this thing,
Nice.
right? So NaNoWriMo is kind of my jump start for my books.
NaNoWriMo.
And anybody who wants to write, it's NOWRIMO
Okay.
.org, and just go. It's free to participate. It's a heck of a lot of fun. You get to hang out with a lot of other people who are writing as well, and who knows? You know, it could be you on this show here a year from now.
There you go. Now, your first time, I know we're out of time. I'm getting signaled by all kinds of people, but this, Bonnie's just too interesting to let her go this quickly. NaNoWriMo, you did it, and that's how you got started on your first book. How many words did you write during that period?
By the end of NaNoWriMo, I had 78,000 words.
78,000. Oh, my goodness. So that is fascinating,
and so
fantastic.
I'm like, okay, I'm just going to finish this. I finished it on New Year's following that, and then went ahead and I am independently published. So I figured out how to do that.
Yeah.
And I am currently published, available for bookstores and libraries. And if you email me or go to my website, either way, you can get the information on how to add that to your bookstore or your library.
Okay, good.
Or you can just contact your local library and say, hey, do you have Bonnie Dillabough's books? And they'll look them up and they'll add them to their collection, because they love putting books in their collection that people want to read.
People want to read. That's right. Bonnie, I want to put this cover up again on the screen, because I'm not a great listener, but this book, you're on the show today because this just came out.
Just came out actually this morning.
This morning, okay.
This morning. The timing for being invited on your show today was perfect for me.
Yeah.
It's the cream on top of my pudding today.
Yeah. Well, we try to stay current on everything, and when a book comes out, darn it, we get it up on the screen. It was just a coincidence, but we're glad we did, buddy.
Yes. Well, in May, book 8 will be coming out.
Okay.
Just a heads up.
Well, Bonnie, back then. Bonnie, thank you so much for coming on. Any last thoughts or last words for our viewers?
Well, read. Reading is so good for you. And I don't care whether you read a paperback book or an ebook, just read. Because, number one, if you're stressed out, read something. Because it'll take you away from your troubles. And please help our next generation coming up learn to love reading. There are all kinds in your local libraries. And my books are available on all the library ebook lending systems. If your local library is close enough, take your kids to the library. Because I'll tell you a secret. My mom didn't have any money, and she took me and my sister to the library for fun.
Wow.
That at age 4, I had taught myself to read, because books were fascinating to her and they became fascinating to me. When I went into kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher cussed my mom out. What are we supposed to teach her? She's already reading at a first grade level. And my mom's like, well, I didn't do it. She taught herself. But the point is books are amazing. They're good therapy. And they allow you to not just learn things, but to feel things. And I think that's so, so important. Find a genre you love, or help your child find a genre they love, and just read.
Very good. Thank you, Bonnie. That's inspirational. I wish we could talk longer. Bonnie Dillabough, her newest book, Threads of Infinity, is out. Don't go buy one of these. Buy 5 of them and give them out to friends. Make sure everybody's reading together. When your kids go to birthday parties, send them with a book as a gift. And anyway, buy lots of books. We'll be back with more Briggs on Books right after this.